Well, hello there everyone. Fall has begun, so I bring to you my first Halloween tutorial. I hope you enjoy my spooky Pumpkin King look, and if you want to learn how to recreate him, keep on watching. After I block out my eyebrows, I begin to map out my shapes. This isn't a necessary step, but because there's a lot going on, especially on the skeleton side, it really does help keep things clear. I didn't want the skull to be super realistic, but I did want it to read clearly as a skull, so I referenced Zombie Boy's tattoos, but you could also reference Tate from American Horror Story. I referenced an anatomy diagram for the body of the skeleton side because I wanted the body to be strictly skeletal, unlike Zombie Boy's tattoos, which include rotting flesh and bugs. As I said, this is the most complicated part of the makeup, so a clear, high-quality reference image really helps to get all the shapes right. To get the best placement of the bones, it can help to feel where your sternum and collarbone are, so you can line everything else up. Now to map out the jack-o'-lantern side. You can choose any expression for your jack-o'-lantern, but I went for something a little more wicked and sinister. The body of the pumpkin side is modeled after a pumpkin vine, which has cute little tendrils and very specific shaped leaves. Now it's time for color. I based out the jack-o'-lantern with orange body paint. A square brush is really good for this so you can get clean edges around the cutouts. Next, I fill in the eye, mouth, and nose cutouts with yellow body paint. When you look at a jack-o'-lantern, you can see the thickness of the pumpkin on the edges of the cutouts. I create this depth with yellow-orange body paint. I begin to add in the ridges of the pumpkin with the same yellow-orange. Then I add the deepest points of the ridges with red body paint. I also use red to add in the little edges of the cutouts. I fill in the pumpkin vine body with light green body paint. I base out the skeleton with white body paint. I paint over my sketched in teeth too. They'll get added back in later. I fill in the vertebrae as rectangles before adding in the side protrusions. The little projection on the vertebra is called the transverse process. As I fill in the rest of the bones with white body paint, I leave small gaps between them so they remain individual and don't become one giant white mass. Next, I fill in the shoulder blade, because I really want my skeletal side to have the depth of a real skeleton. I fill in the eye socket and gap between the jaws with black body paint. I use black body paint on a large flat brush to begin to fill in all the negative space. I use gray body paint to fill in the upper part of the vertebrae protrusions. I also use gray to fill in the temple. I go back in with black on an angled brush to fill in the rest of the negative space on my neck and chest. I use black body paint on a tiny detailing brush to fill in the nose. Next, I use brown eyeshadow to further shade the ridges and carved edges of the pumpkin. Then, I use yellow eyeshadow to highlight the ridges. I apply white to the center of each cutout. I shade the pumpkin vine with dark green eyeshadow. I use the same color to add in the veins and frilly edges of the leaf. I shade the skeletal side with light gray eyeshadow from the Morphe 35C palette. I use a darker gray to shade the temple and brow bone. I add the teeth back in with black eyeshadow on a detailing brush. I add in the shadow beneath the cheekbone with dark gray eyeshadow. I use light gray to add a bit of shading around the upper jaw and eye socket. Then, I shade the teeth to make them appear more round and curved. I outline my cutouts with black eyeshadow on a very fine detailing brush. Last, I shade the center edge with a gradient of grays so it looks like the skeleton half is beneath the pumpkin half. Thank you so much for watching my Pumpkin King tutorial. All the products I use will be listed in the description below. I am so excited for the rest of the Halloween looks I have planned for you guys, but if there's any looks in particular you'd like to see me create, let me know in the comments. To see more of my work, check me out on Instagram and Facebook, links in the description, and I will see you next time.